Love lives here.
When I had the opportunity to work on the 2020 themes and be part of the 2020 global themes for Centers for Spiritual Living, the month of May was one of the months that I was in charge of. And I chose this topic, These Hands, based upon that song sometime last year, not knowing exactly how appropriate this talk title and this message would be on May 31st, 2020. And honestly, I'm not going to use the outline that we had prepared. I'm going to speak to you from my heart. I'm going to share with you some thoughts, some ideas, and I invite you to take them if you will, to work with them, and to use your hands, these hands, to make a difference. Every week, I invite you to say our focus statement with all the V's: vim, vigor, velocity, voluptuousness, vivaciousness, vitality, vibrancy. I'm not going to ask you to do that today. What I am going to ask you to do today, as we look at this focus statement, as we share this focus statement, what I'm going to ask you to do today is I'm going to ask you to feel the weight of it. I'm going to ask you to feel the spiritual principle in it. I'm going to ask you to feel the gravity of it. I'm going to ask you to feel into the responsibility of it and make it your own. And so we say together, we embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. That we embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. And what I can tell you is that love is not always gushy. Love is not always mushy. Love is not always necessarily feeling joyous. Love is not always necessarily feeling the bliss. Sometimes love is the tough love. Sometimes love is the hard conversations. Sometimes the love is calling each other higher. Sometimes the love is speaking truth to power. Sometimes love is using our voice and being visible in ways that make people feel uncomfortable, that cause discomfort. Because there is a greater love here. There's a greater unconditional love here. If those of you who are parents or grandparents, you understand that even though you love your children, there are some times when that love does not look like lollipops. That love does not look like your favorite food or their favorite food. That love does not look like pepperoni pizza. That love does not look like family game night. That love is a protective love. That love is a guarding love. That love is a love with the intention of aiding this beloved, this person that you love and cherish so much, to be more fully realized as a human being, to be more fully realized as a spiritual being, to be more fully realized as a member of society, to live their highest potential. And yet, you do it from a place of deep and abiding love. So this week has been very challenging, has been extremely difficult. For me personally, for me professionally, for all of us on a multitude of levels. But it's not about me. It's about us. This week, as I've been contemplating and been sitting with everything that's unfolded, I've been in a deep place of mourning. I've been in a deep place of grieving. I've been in a deep place of pain. But the pain that I've been in is nothing in comparison to the pain of my Black and brown brothers, sisters, and siblings. I cannot know the depth of that pain. It's impossible for me to know that. Part of the pain, this whole week has been against the backdrop of COVID-19. And I remember as we were moving into this time of COVID-19, this time of sheltering in grace, this time of sheltering in peace, this time of safer at home, I remember thinking that, and having this glimmer of hope of, wow, this is really tragic. And yet here is something finally, perhaps, maybe, just maybe, that the whole world can unite around, that the whole world can come together around, because we are having a global experience. We are experiencing a global crisis, that perhaps there's something finally now, even though it's an external force, that we have an opportunity to rise up together, to show up together, to unite, to become a united state of consciousness. And then it came out. More Black people were dying of COVID than white people, disproportionately so. The Black community and the brown community were dying disproportionately from COVID. And all of a sudden, the narrative changed. All of a sudden, it's about the economy. All of a sudden, it's about let's reopen. All of a sudden, it's about let's move forward. Let's get back to normal. All of a sudden, when it became apparent who was being affected most. And then earlier this week, Amy Cooper was not doing what she was supposed to do with her dog. And Chris Cooper asked her to leash her dog. And what did she do? She consciously and deliberately used her whiteness, her white womanhood, and said, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to tell them that a Black man is threatening me. She knew what she was doing. She knew that she was weaponizing her whiteness. She knew that she was weaponizing her femaleness. And she knew her relationship to the police. She knew his relationship to the police. And yet still, she chose those actions. And so she got fired from her job. Boo-hoo. And yes, what was happening with the dog was terrible too. But it's not about the dog. It's not just about the dog. And trying to switch the narrative to being about the dog is one of the ways that white privilege and white supremacy rear their ugly head. It's deflecting. And then we saw it happen, right? We saw it with George Floyd. We saw the consequence of what could have happened to Chris Cooper. We saw that officer kneeling on George Floyd's neck, murdering him in broad daylight with the complicitness of his fellow officers. And people want to say that, oh, but the person filming it should have stopped him, should have stepped in. How? She's a Black woman. How does she step in and not suffer the same fate? How? And now we're seeing protests. Protests. And even in their rage, Black people and brown people have that rage appropriated. Appropriated by white supremacists who have gone into cities like Minneapolis and Seattle and other places around the country, outside agitators going in and starting violence. And starting more violence. Knowing, using, and weaponizing their white supremacy, weaponizing their whiteness because they know what'll happen. They know. They know. And so this week, I'm finally to a place of anger. And that's a step up from where I was, which was despair, which was hopelessness, which was, what is it all for? Was why. And that's where I came to this difficult dilemma here with you today. Because you see, in school, in our ministerial training, we're taught and we're told that, you don't speak to something that you haven't processed yet. You don't speak to something that you don't understand or that's still too raw for you because you could cause harm to your community. And yet at the same time, if I didn't speak this morning from the depths of my pain, from where I'm at currently, being authentic with you, if I were just silent on this matter, that is a greater harm. So hear me. I understand there's a lot of you out there who want to lean in, who are wondering, what do I do? How do I process this? What do I do? I want to do something. Show me, teach me, tell me. What do I do? How do I be a better ally? First of all, to be an ally, you have to do your own work. To be an ally, you have to educate yourself first. You don't get to use your white privilege and your white fragility to ask a person of color how you can be a better ally. And I don't care whether they're friends or not. That is your white privilege that allows you to think that. It is not their responsibility to bear the emotional pain so that you can be educated. It's not their responsibility. It's our responsibility to educate ourselves. That's the first place we start. So if you want to be a better ally, if you want to know what you should be doing in this moment, shut up and listen, for one. Our voices are out there all over the place. Stop the white centering. Stop making it about us personally, because it is about us collectively. But not the way you think it's about us. It's about us because we have the responsibility to end it now. We have the responsibility to end it, to stop it. And we cannot let our fragility, we cannot let our privilege get in the way. So if you want to know what you need to do, want to know where to start by reading a book. Start by educating yourself. Start by reading How to Be Anti-Racist. Start with Me and White Supremacy. Start with White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. Start there. Start there. That's where it starts. Not asking the beloveds in our community to teach you, to share with you their experience, to share with you their pain. We haven't earned that. This week I was reading, there was this beautiful analogy of going snorkeling. So let's pretend we're going snorkeling. I'm from Hawaii. Let's pretend we're going snorkeling, and we're going snorkeling in Hanauma Bay, right? And we come upon a shark. And what is our first inclination? For some of you, it might be like, oh, okay, no big deal. What is our first inclination? Ooh, shark, danger. We don't think, oh, well, maybe this shark is okay, and maybe this shark won't hurt me, and maybe this shark won't bite me, and let me do everything I can to cuddle up to it. Let me ask it its feelings. What do? We know that we're wary of the shark. We know that not all sharks are going to attack us. We know that all sharks aren't scary, or all sharks aren't man-eaters. But yet we're still leery. We still exercise caution. And so just because you have a relationship, any kind of relationship, with a person of color, with the global majority, don't assume that you're not the shark. Because we're still sharks. We're still sharks. And so asking somebody to cozy up next to us and teach us and feed us is an emotional toil and an emotional burden that we do not have the right to ask. So educate yourself. The other thing I can share with you that has come clear to me is that our faith and our philosophy can be weaponized. And it can be weaponized with spiritual bypass. We're all one. There is no other. I don't see color. I just see my brothers and sisters. I already recognize a world that works for everyone in all of creation. I've already done my work. No, that will not fly. The way we use our faith and our philosophy, what we do here is we deconstruct those false beliefs. We deconstruct the race consciousness. We deconstruct the harmful thoughts. We deconstruct our harmful ways of being. We first have to know that they're there. We have to lean into that. We have to become aware of that. And that's where the education piece comes in. Then we have to deconstruct. We have to do the work of dismantling and deconstruction so that we can then begin to do the work of reparation. And yes, I said reparation. To atone for the wrongdoing. To atone for the missing the mark, the sin. To atone, to make amends for the harm that we have caused and that we continue to cause. And then we are called to use this faith and use this philosophy to begin to create a world that works for everyone, to begin to see, to begin to shift our thinking, to shift our way of being, to shift our entire construct, to truly being the power and the presence of love, to really being that, to really living that. And everybody wants to be the butterfly. We all long to be the butterfly. What we fail to realize is that frequently we're the caterpillar. We affirm our butterflyness, and we try to convince others that we're the butterfly. But if you really want to be the butterfly, you have to first know that you're a caterpillar. And then you have to realize that the caterpillar must cease to be. The caterpillar and everything that makes up the caterpillar must die to itself, must die to its old life, must give it all up, all the comforts of being a caterpillar, all the privilege of being a caterpillar, must give it all up, all of it, and turn into the goo of the imaginal cells. We must embrace the discomfort. We must lean into the pain. We must lean into it. And eventually, with the hard work, we might begin to sprout wings. Who knows? We might all eventually be able to rip open the cocoon and be a land of butterflies. That is not where we are today. We have work to do. These are the hands of God. Our faith calls us not only to change our thinking, not only to change our lives, but then to step out and do the work in the public sphere, to step out and help, to step out and embolden our brothers and sisters and siblings to live their highest potential, because we can only do that if we ourselves are living our highest potential. If we are willing to do the work, if we're willing to lean into it and to actually do it. It's not about, oh, I'd like to think about it. Maybe I should ponder it. Let me pray on it. Let me meditate on that. Let me contemplate that. No. It's about using our hands, using our hearts, using our head, using this vehicle, this vessel, to do the work. To do. So I ask you this day, what are you going to do? It doesn't have to be big. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do to make sure that RJ and Tiffany and Aubrey to make sure that Gabby and Nia, to make sure that Roderick and India and Nia and Nico and Sophia and Cameron and Ethan and Nathan, what are you going to do to make sure that they are not a hashtag? I don't have the answers for you. This is where that 100% responsibility for your life kicks in. Take responsibility and take action. We have 2 videos here that we're just going to go ahead and play back to back now because I got off and was ready to go. And so, but I want to share these with you. I want to presence these with you. The first is from Melanie DeMore, from a mother's perspective. And the second is from Keedron Bryant, a young man. Listen to what they share. Don't just listen. Feel it, breathe it, take it in, and allow yourself to be changed by it.
Somebody's baby just killed someone else's baby, leaving somebody's baby crying. When will it all end? Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, baby child. Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, baby child. Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, how can I hold you? Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, how can I hold you? Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, how can I keep you safe? Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, how can I help you shine? Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, how can I hold you? Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, in this baby world. Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, baby child. Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, how can I keep you safe? Rock-a-bye, baby child, close your sweet eyes. Rock-a-bye, baby.
I'm a young black man
doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
I just want to live. I recognize here and now that there is this one power, this one presence, this love that is back of all, through all, as all. It is the very essence of all of life, of all of creation. I recognize that there is only one power here, one presence here, one life here, and it expresses itself in a multitude of ways. That it is the multiplicity in unity itself. And so I recognize here and now that I am that I am. It is the very who of who I am. It is the very essence of my being. And the more that I awaken to this, the more I recognize this, the more that I become aware of this, the more it lives me as me. I simply get out of the way and allow that which is within me, the love that is in me, to transform my life now, to transform my thoughts, to transform my way of being. To transform and release any idea or any possibility of privilege, to release and surrender it, to lift it and let it go. And I know that this power and this presence uses my voice here and now to amplify the voices that cannot be heard, the voices that have been silenced. The voices that have been silenced by this disease of supremacy. The lives that have been cut short by the hatred and the separation of people who have forgotten who they are. And I call upon all of us to remember and to awaken to the very essence of our being. And I especially call on my white brothers and sisters and siblings to do that, to do the work, to lean into the work, to lean into the discomfort, to lean into the pain, to lean into the sorrow, to be a benign presence, a loving presence. This is what I know for us. And for my brothers and sisters and siblings of color, for my brothers and sisters and siblings of the global majority. What I know this day is that you are loved. You are seen, you are heard. What I know this day is your life matters. What I know this day is that words fail in the face of the atrocities. And for that, I am deeply sorry. Sorry for the loss of words. Sorry for the atrocities. And sorry for my part in that. And so we cry out. We cry out in sorrow. We cry out in pain. We cry out in love. Because what I know is when there is deep pain, is because there is deep love. love for one another, love for ourselves, love for the divine. And so I give thanks for this time of community, this time of holy communion with one another, this time of deep listening, this time of acceptance of what is ours to do. And we do it. And so I release this word. I let it be. And I lay it upon the altar with these hands. And so it is.
Love